Alrighty, and good morning, CAR members. Thank you all so much for joining us. It is a holiday, so I appreciate you taking your time on your busy Valentine's Day just to sit with us and learn about renter leads, and not just, how to get them, but how to qualify them, because that's really important. A really important step of the process. So before I let Ben Case, our speaker, get started today, just a reminder that we are recording the session. We'll email everyone a copy later on today so you can review it and check out some really great materials that we're going to include with that recording link. If you have questions that come up throughout the webinar, please drop those in the Q&A box, and we'll monitor that throughout the session and then pick some questions to go over live at the end. So yeah, we're here to talk about the California Rental Listing Service, which is powered by Rental Beast, which, Ben, I think that's where you come in. So thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Abby. Thank you for having us. We're really excited to be talking to all of our CIR members today and going over how to generate and qualify renter leads. So I've got a lot of content that we're going to get into. So we're going to hop right into it today. I'm sure y'all are kind of asking, hey, who's this guy talking to me? I'm Ben Case. I'm the Education and Training Manager over at Rental Beast, and I've been part of our customer success group for over a year now. I did earn my Virginia real estate license when in college, and I closed around $4 million in commercial and residential deals from 2012 to early in 2014. And I've got a few certifications and designations from ATD, and I'm currently earning my master's in education in learning design and technology over at Texas A&M. So, like I said, we got a lot to cover. There are a lot of lead generation activities out there that real estate professionals need to be doing and should be doing. I'm not going to list all of those and what they are, but I do want to note that today's focus is specifically on posting ads for renters and how to respond and qualify them. Now, for our audience, who does this mostly apply to? This is mostly going to apply to real estate agents who are interested in working with renters to find a rental property. Now, it can also apply to our property managers, our property owners, or listing agents, because this is an activity that can be done to try to find a renter that isn't just a passive way of waiting for them to come into the door. Plus, if you do find an unrepresented renter, you don't have to worry about any questions around commission or a co-broke fee in deciding what you want to do with that. So that said, what are we covering today? There are three main areas that we're really going to dig into today. The first is best practices for posting ads to generate renter leads that'll help you save time and energy. Then we're going to go into a 6-step process for lead response to help you convert a lead to a potential client. And finally, we're going to wrap up with qualification questions that you need to be asking that'll help you determine a lead's capacity and their level of seriousness, which will help you reduce time spent on leads who either aren't a good fit or aren't ready to move. Now, real quick before we jump into this, I want to make sure you know how to access Rental Beast. Rental Beast Gateway is included as a CAR member benefit with your membership. It is a free member benefit. We also do have our paid service, Rental Beast Pro, and you have a 30-day trial for that if you're interested in it. And to access Rental Beast, you want to go into your RST dashboard. That's where you go to access zip forms, for example, and you can find Rental Beast in there and it will redirect you to our portal. Now that you know how to find Rental Beast and kind of where we're at within that portal, I want to dive into the meat. And like I said, there's a lot of lead generation activities out there, and we're focused on one, posting ads for listings. However, on the posting ad side, we're going to stay pretty high level. We're going to go into more of the keys for success and some things you need to consider. Less on the actual process, and that's because what I'm going to do is you're going to get 2 guides after this webinar. You're going to get one on how to post to Craigslist and one on Facebook. And those are going to go more onto the process and the system that you need to do if you're interested in doing this lead generation activity. So don't fret as we're going through this. I wanted to just put that out there so that you know that you're going to get those resources. All right, to kick it off, let's go over just a few reasons why we should be working with or representing renters. And the first one is that there's a massive volume of renters out there, and around a third of the entire US population rents, which is around 40 million households. So that means there is a massive opportunity there to begin building relationships with renters. In addition, you can complete a higher velocity of transactions because rental deals happen faster than purchase and sale deals traditionally. On average, a rental deal can be completed in under or around a week, whereas for purchase and sale, it typically takes months. So this allows us to rapidly grow our network and our sphere of influence, which can increase the amount of referrals and deals that we're able to close in a short period of time. And also, working with renters is as close to recurring income as you'll get. And this is because rentals are predictable. On average, renters are going to move every 2 years. So whether you're working with a renter or a property owner, we know that there are predictable moments in that lease life cycle where we should be reaching out to them. And NAR says that 88% of clients are going to reuse their real estate professional. So it's even more important for us to be anticipating their real estate needs, tracking our lease renewals, and reaching out to them at the appropriate time. And because of all of these reasons, we are able to build a pipeline of future buyers and sellers, as well as adding predictable recurring deals, which will boost our future earning potential and include a diverse pipeline of opportunities. We can focus on converting renters to buyers. We can focus on, like I said, when do we need to reach out to our renters and work on them with their next property that they're going to based off of a renewal life cycle. Or if we're building relationships with property owners as we work with renters, we might be able to help them purchase an investment property. So we're able to build multiple tiers of relationships and have multiple different layers of opportunities for our future. Now, there's three main reasons that we should be posting ads to generate renter leads. And the first one is that this gives us an ability to generate instant results. Unlike many other lead generation strategies that are a long-term play, the advantage of posting ads with listings is that you can generate quick results and see those results immediately. So within a short period, you're able to attract interested renters and start building a list of potential clients. The second reason is that you can generate leads 24/7. So by posting these ads online, you allow interested renters to inquire about a property at any time. And this flexibility is going to increase our chances of finding the right clients. And finally, by having a process to post listings, you're able to rapidly get ads out in a short period of time. Following a system allows you to maintain momentum, ensuring that you can consistently attract potential renters and increase your chances of closing deals. So as we begin posting ads, there's a few best practices that will help us maximize our time and energy. And the first one that we should be considering is we need to know our market. So what does this mean? It means that factors like rental price, location, and your market's average rents are critical levers that are going to impact the quantity and quality of our leads. So we need to understand that when we're posting listings, you control the lead quality and volume by the type of listings that you post. And because of this, depending on your lead generation goals, knowing your local market can significantly influence the listings that you decide to share. So it's vital to also understand that you're going to have leads that you want to work with and those that you don't want to work with. A lot of real estate professionals either don't realize that not every lead is going to be a good use of their time, or they get discouraged early when the leads aren't the perfect match and they stop doing their lead generation activities. So we need to be comfortable knowing that not every lead is going to be perfect, and then plan to use our qualification process to help us determine if the lead is a match that we want to work with, if they are a good fit for us, for our business. That is what we're using that qualification portion for. So from there, we want to create a plan and have the discipline to be consistent with it. If you're sporadic or inconsistent with your activities, you're likely not going to yield a lot of results. So create and stick to a plan because the results are going to take a little bit of time, but they do generate exponential success as you keep doing the activity daily. So I typically recommend at minimum to post at least 3 times a week with a goal of doing at least 5 ads or for 1 hour. Now, here's the thing. I prefer to set the metric on the number of ads you get out as opposed to the amount of time spent on the activity. This is why. As you get better, you will get faster. As you get a process, it will get streamlined. Therefore, if you're always saying, I'm only going to spend an hour or something, the amount of ads varies. I like to be consistent with my number. So I'm going to say, I like to do 5. That's what I focus on, however long that takes. That is how long I spend on it. Next, we want to test and track our results. So try posting at different times of the day and track the posts that receive the best response. If we're not tracking our results, how do we know if what we're doing is effective? We want to be tracking things like, what time of day am I posting? How many leads did I get off of that ad? Off of that ad, how many of those scheduled a qualification call? From a qualification call, how many tours was I able to get? From our tours, how many of those turned into applications? From those applications, how many turned into leases? And that gives us metrics on the entire process of what did we convert, how many closed, and what were the response rates and things of that. Now, we want to make sure we're using our time effectively. So on average, the best times that you might want to start trying are 7 to 9 in the morning, 12 to 2 in the afternoon, or 5 to 8 in the evening. Again, though, test it, track it, see what the best results are, and then incorporate that into our plan. The next thing we want to do is we want to use photos and clear descriptions. Remember, we're trying to generate a renter's interest. So you want your description to provide a good 10,000-foot overview that highlights the most essential items to pique their interest. You don't want it to be too long where it just loses their interest completely. And you don't want it to be too short where they really don't, know if they're really that interested in it. So let's aim for about 400 words or so, nothing too long, nothing too short. And in addition, let's look for listings that have pictures with them. A lot of times pictures are important to renters. So we want to be using listings that don't just have pictures, but have quality pictures. And then we want to use the best ones that highlight the best areas of that listing. The next thing that we want to be doing is we need to explore areas for additional visibility to get more, to get more eyeballs on things. So do we have access to local schools or maybe corporate sites that have housing information or opportunities? And if so, let's look and see if they have bulletin boards or something similar there where renters might be lurking, and then ask if they would allow us to post our ads there and get visibility there. And the last thing that we should be looking at is we need to have a lead response and qualification process. Now, this should be obvious. That's what we're talking about on the back half of this webinar. But here's the thing. Too many real estate professionals don't have a sound system for quickly responding to leads, and they ultimately lose out on business because of this. And here's my question to you. What is the benefit of having the best or doing the most, with your lead generation activity if you constantly lose out on winning business because your lead response or management is slow? And the answer to that is slim to none, which takes us into our next thing. And this is a question that we always get. So where do I actually get these listings? If I'm going to be doing this, where do I get it? And there's really 4 main sources that you're going to find them. You can find them within your brokerage, rental databases. You can start trying to identify for rent by owner properties, or dealing with rental communities, property managers, or other listing agents who have listings. So let's quickly go over how to ask for permission to post for these ads, to post ads for these listings. So when we're asking for permission, if you are talking to your brokerage, I want to point out that this can be a little, less formal. It doesn't have to be as formal as the process we're going to go into. So if you're talking with your brokerage real quick, it's more, talking to them about, are you interested in me helping you promote the listing? And if you're going to split the commission, if I bring you a renter who signs a lease. And the key with them is really emphasizing how you'll manage any of the leads that you generate all the way up to the application portion so that they have zero legwork. Again, this is the leads that you generate, you're going to be handling. So they're not going to be fielding general questions. They're not going to be setting up a tour. They're not going to be qualifying that lead. They're not going to, like I said, be touring them. They're not going to be answering questions on the application. You're going to be handling all of that. And then once an application is ready, you're able to go to your colleague and say, here's so-and-so's application. You're not carrying it by hand. For the record, I'm doing this as a motion, but you're hopefully delivering it electronically. Let's not break any FCRA regulations, but you're bringing them that application or that applicant, and they're already qualified, they're already vetted. It's all the legwork is done. All they have to do is take it, review it, and make a decision from there. So that's if we're dealing internally within our own brokerage and how we kind of highlight the value that we bring. However, if we're trying to promote it with a property manager, a rental community, a for rent by owner, or another agent's listing outside of our brokerage, we need to be a little more clear with our message, and we're going to probably need to pick up the phone and give them a call. I recommend a call. Some people do emails, but I think in this nature, it needs to be a call. So real quick, what are we doing first? Who are you? Why are you calling? My name is Ben Case. I'm calling about 123 Awesome Street. Was wondering if you had a few minutes to talk with me. Sure, Ben. What do you got? Cool. Now we're going to start asking probing questions. We want to know how the leasing process is going. We're trying to understand, how's the visibility been? Have you been getting any applications? It looks like you've been sitting on the market. How's the process gone in the past? We're asking these questions to try to determine if they have a visibility or an interest issue. And if it sounds like they're not getting the traction that they're looking for, this is when we can ask if we can help them by posting ads for listings to boost their visibility and explain the benefits. Like I said, I'm going to post ads for listings for you. And through that, you're going to get increased visibility for the property. It costs you nothing. I'm going to reduce your legwork because any of those leads that I generate, I'm going to qualify them, I'm going to tour them, and I'm not going to bring you in until the application process. Again, we want to highlight there's no financial risk on the front side to them. It costs them nothing to allow you to post the ads for listings for them. So we're really trying to highlight the benefit. If they agree to it, say, hey, Ben, that sounds like a great plan. What do we need to do to get moving forward? You want to confirm that they're offering a commission because, again, if you bring them a renter and they sign a lease, we don't want to find out at the end that they're not going to pay. We want to confirm listing details. We want to make sure that we are not bombarding them consistently with questions. So confirm whatever details you need to be able to market the property and be able to talk about it accurately. It's not to say that you can't contact them, but you don't want to be emailing them every day with tiny questions that you could have gotten on that call. So let's get those listing details there. And then any requirements that go along with securing a commission. We want to know if there are any of those so that we are aware of them and able to just be aware and make sure that they're met. We don't want to miss out on them. And then finally, we just want to ask them for written confirmation. We want to make sure that we didn't mishear anything. So say, hey, I'm going to shoot you an email with the details that we just talked about. If you could just respond back and confirm that what I heard was accurate, I'd greatly appreciate that. That'd be great. So we can do that in written confirmation. Some places have actual forms for this. I know that some communities or bigger property management groups won't sign forms. So lean to your broker and refer to them on how to handle that. But this is the basic process that we should be doing when we're asking for permission on posting an ad and what we should be paying attention to. Now, Rental Beast does have a handful of tools that help you with posting ads and finding listings. And just a few of those are our database to search for listings, market alerts, so that you're able to keep track of the market for listings that meet your post criteria when they come to market. We have a CMA tool that can help you determine a listing's market competitiveness so you can compare it to other listings and see if it's competitively priced. And we also have some Rental Beast Pro tools to help you market listings, generate leads, and help with lead response and qualification. Now, I'm going to really quickly highlight a few of these real quick, and then we're going to get into lead response and qualification. Not going to spend too much time here, but I want to make sure you're aware of them. So like I said, we've got search. Our Rental Beast search gives you access to 12 million owner source listings not found on the MLS. This gives you a massive pond to basically hunt in for listings to post and gives you a huge database that you can start hunting in. We also have our CMA tool. Again, it allows you to quickly see if a listing is competitive within a specific market, which can help you determine which listings you want to use when you're posting ads for listings. And then we also have our ability to set listing alerts. These aren't just for clients. You can set them to reduce your prospecting legwork so that you're staying updated on the current market and listings that come to market that meet your posting criteria, and you're avoiding having to redo searches over and over again. And then, as I did mention, we do have some Rental Beast Pro tools. This is our paid service, and these tools can help with lead response, qualification, management, contact management, and they're going to help you make sure that you're not dropping the ball with a lead. Our database is going to give you full access to all of the data on our owner-sourced or for rent by owner listings that aren't found on the MLS, which you can use to post with your ads. One of my favorite ones of the tools that are on there within our suite, you can actually see it on our screen. That's the screenshot, is our My Rentals page. This is a custom branded website where you can market rental listings and generate leads. You can add it to your socials or our website, post it out, and generate tons of leads off of it. And again, any lead that is generated off of this will go back to you and only you. So now that we've covered just what to consider when posting ads and just a few ways that RentalBeast tools can help with that, let's go over what to do once you actually begin to generate leads and what that process and qualification process should entail and looks like. So the first thing I want to go into is I want to make sure that we understand what the goal of lead response is. And the goal of lead response is we're aiming to get an initial phone call with the lead, and a process helps with this because we need to respond quickly because renters traditionally have less patience than buyers or sellers. So a process is going to help us remove guesswork on what, when, and how to respond. Thus, it's going to help us not lose clients because the reality is, one, time kills deals, sorry, and two, a process is going to allow us to be diverse in our outreach methods. So let's look at some data and basically see why we need to be fast and why using multiple outreach methods is critical during our lead response. And when we look at just some of the data out there, according to a Velocify survey, lead conversions are 391% higher when you call within a minute of an online inquiry. A behavioral study conducted by the Lead Management Organization revealed that when sales representatives were 21 times more likely to convert a lead into an opportunity when they responded in 5 minutes as opposed to letting an hour elapse. That's right. 21 more times more likely to convert a lead into an opportunity when responding in 5 minutes as opposed to just an hour. So, as you consider how you're going to contact your leads, let's quickly look at a few data points regarding phone calls and emails. So, despite emails' popularity, phone calls are often more effective than emails at garnering a response. And what we see here is phone outreach has a response rate of 8.1% compared to only 0.03% for email. And recent stats also show that the average office worker receives around 120 emails per day. And in their personal inbox, they have over 200 in their inbox. So in this crowded medium, it's hard to stand out and get someone's attention. Even worse is the fact that 57% of people who receive a cold email think it is spam without even opening the email. So now you're likely asking, okay, that's great. What about texting? Well, let's look at some of the data that shows the rise in use and popularity amongst consumers. And what we see is that 98% of all text messages are opened compared to just 20% of emails. And even more positive is that a separate study found that 95% of people read and respond to a text within 3 minutes of delivery. And going one step further, 9 out of 10 consumers would like to communicate with businesses through text message. So what can we get from this? While emailing might be more common, phone calls are often more effective, and text messages have the highest open rate, particularly with younger clients. And guess who most likely, and on average, is the largest group of renters? Younger clients. So let's keep that in mind too. Now, let's look at the 6 steps that you need to be using within your lead response process to make sure that we're doing it thoroughly. Now, the first thing I want to note before we jump into this is that your reaching out to them is more of a cold call or a warm call, sorry, or a warm contact rather than a cold one. And this is because you're responding to their inquiry on your ad. So make sure that you're clear with your message and understand that your main objective is to address their rental needs while making it clear to them that you are able to help them. So the first step that we want to do is we need to send that client a text, and we need to let them know you got their inquiry and that you're going to be calling at a specific time. If possible, try to call within 15 minutes, but let them know you're going to try them later if you miss them. So it might seem a little preemptive to set up that call right from the first interaction, But again, we got to remember time kills deals, and they were the ones who inquired about something. So you need to be ready and quick to respond. And we can send a text that basically says something along the lines of this. Hi, Mary. Thanks so much for reaching out about 123 Awesome Street. I'd love to help you out. I'm going to give you a call in 15 minutes to schedule time to tour the property and learn more about your real estate goals. If I miss you, I'll try again at 5 p.m. today. I look forward to connecting soon. Now, the next thing that we want to do is we need to send them a follow-up email. And the goal is to cover all of our bases by sending them a follow-up email along with that text. You could use the same message. You just want to tweak it slightly from a text use for an email use. And here's one pro tip to consider when we're generating this email. There is studies out there that say using an emoji in your subject line can increase open rates by 56%. So maybe consider using a house or a real estate related emoji in that subject line to try to help your email stand out against the spam. The third thing that we need to be doing is that we need to call them at that specific time. We got to keep our word. We got to be trustworthy. So if you say you're going to call in 15 minutes or at 5 p.m., let's make sure that you call at that time. If your client responds enthusiastically or doesn't reply to your text that you sent, call them at the specified time regardless, and be ready to ask your lead qualification questions, convey your value, and learn about their rental requirements. If they say they don't have time to talk when you call them, confirm when does work, thank them for their time, and then send a follow-up email and text to confirm when you're going to call them back. The fourth step here is if they don't pick up, text and email your client again and set a different time. Now, here's the thing. The reality is the timing may have been the problem. So let's try a different time. Like you, your clients or potential clients are likely busy. So don't get flustered if you don't hear from them the first time. If you've tried to set up a call in the afternoon, try to set one up in the early morning or midday, and vice versa to that. As you consider your callback times, though, let's remember that the best times traditionally to call a lead are between 8 and 10 in the morning and 4 to 6 in the afternoon. So a sample text that we could send them if we miss them is something very simple and along the lines of this. Hi, Mary. Sorry I just missed you. I'll reach out tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. to connect with you about your real estate search. Looking forward to connecting in the morning. So that's what we could say with a follow-up one. The next thing we need to do is we need to repeat the process. And most data out there says that it takes around 7 methods of outreach before a sale is closed. So if you do this process around 3 times, you should be generating around 7 to 9 different touch points. So we need to plan to contact that lead at least 3 times. And here's one of the reasons why. A lot of real estate professionals out there will do this once, they don't get a response, and they cut the lead loose. Knowing that it takes around 7 touch points to create or convert a lead, we don't want to be that agent who just puts in the minimum effort. So let's make sure we're going through this 3 times, understand that our leads are busy, and then understand that timing might be the process and the problem, and try to basically try and test different slots. And the last thing here is we need to know when to cut bait. Again, go through the process 3 times. After that, if the client doesn't want to talk to you, you should plan to move on. We only have so much time in the day, and if we're posting daily, we're always going to be generating new leads, which means cutting bait with ones who aren't responding to us or are sucking our time isn't the end of the world. It's something that is a must-do for us to make sure that we are maximizing our energy and time. So let's make sure we understand when it's time to cut bait. All right, we're going to move on now that we've covered the lead response process, and we're going to go over how to qualify a lead once you actually get them on a call and what does that look like. So when we get them on the phone, there are 4 common questions that I typically hear from real estate professionals about lead qualification in terms of what do I do and what should I be doing. And these 4 ones are, what's the primary goal been? How do I prepare for the call? What am I trying to accomplish? And what specific questions do I need to be asking? So we're going to go through all 4 of these right now and answer them just so that we're all on the same page here. So let's start at the beginning. So what are we trying to do? What is our goal? So with lead response, let's remember, our goal is to get them on a qualification call. Our goal for lead qualification changes. So our goal for lead qualification is when we get them on that call, we are trying to, by the end of it, schedule time to show them a few properties. That's the outcome we're looking for in a qualification call. Now, there are a few ways that we can prepare for the call to help us be ready to do this and have a successful call. The first one is if a lead inquires about a specific property, we want to search for a few similar listings that you can offer to show them. If you don't have a specific property or questionnaire, let's find a few go-to listings in various price ranges and sizes in that area they're interested in so that we can mention them as possibilities. If they did complete a pre-qualification questionnaire, though, we want to review those answers, search for properties that match the requirements, and have those available. And the last thing we want to do, and it's pretty obvious, is we want to just research the market quickly. We want to make sure that where they were interested in, we're familiar with. What amenities are there? What access to transportation is there in that area? We want to be familiar with it so when we're talking with them, we can talk about the area knowledgeably and sound like an expert. So let's make sure we're familiar with the area. Now, as we get into the lead qualification, and you get someone on the phone, there are three primary stages to conduct a successful qualification call: the introduction, the qualification, and the closing. It's not that hard. Three main parts here. So let's dive into the first one and go over the introduction. During the introduction, the goal is to assure them that you are qualified to help them and get their buy-in to move forward with the call. So we want to emphasize that we specialize in working with renters to let the client know they have a real estate professional who is on their side that's going to help them navigate the rental process. Now, you don't need to spend a boat ton of time on the front side reinforcing this because at the end of the day, you want to keep the focus on the lead early. However, you want them at ease by knowing that you can help them and that you are qualified to help them. So, for example, we could say something like this at the beginning of the call. Hi, Mary. My name is Ben, and I'm a rental specialist who works with renters. As a real estate professional familiar with your area that you're looking in, I'd be happy to help you find and secure a rental that fits your needs. Now, after we've quickly assured them that you're qualified to help and done some of the early on back and forth, you want to pivot to the qualification portion. A good rule of thumb here is, again, we want to get the lead's buy-in to begin the qualification portion of the call. So you can say something along the lines of, is now a good time to talk about your rental search? And once they say yes, that's when you say, great, I've got a few questions I'd like to ask you to get the process started. So as you begin qualification, let's really quickly understand what are we trying to determine in qualification. And there are two main questions that we are trying to answer during this process. The first one, is this lead solid? And second, what are the rental needs of the client? We want to determine their basic rental requirements. So starting with, is this lead solid? To determine this, we want to discover if they have urgency, realistic expectations, and the capacity to move. So why do we want to establish their urgency? We want to establish their timeline because it's going to help us determine their level of seriousness. Moving and motivation questions work great here. And some of the ones you can ask are, why are you looking to move? When do you need to move by? And do you have a current lease? And if so, when does it end? If a lead doesn't seem to have urgency around their timeline, this should be a red flag for you, and it could indicate that they're not very serious about moving. Now, typically, if a lead isn't ready to move within 60 days or so, they do not have much urgency around their timeline. So if you get a lead without urgency, we don't want to 100% discard them, but you should do your best to protect your time. So a good solution in this scenario, if they're not that urgent to move, is let's set up market alerts for them and then let them reach out to us again when they are serious about moving. You might also want to take this time to also ask if they're working with anyone and if they've signed a tenant agency contract, because the last thing you want to do is to put a ton of time into a deal and then realize that person's represented. If they do state that they are working with someone, this is really critical, and I want to emphasize, underline, bold, everything this, okay? So this is really important. If they state they are working with someone, you respond with this: that you abide by the Realtor Code of Ethics and will not break the client or agent relationship. You also should never suggest that they break their contract while that contract is in play. This is against the Realtor Code of Ethics and may also be a violation of your state's real estate governing body or commission. So I just want to say that right there. Let's not violate anything along those lines. All right, moving on. Why do we want to know about their expectations? This is important because it's going to help you determine if the lead has realistic expectations and if you want to work with them. Again, it's not always, can you help this person? A big question is this lead someone you want to work with? So location and price questions are going to work great here. And some of the ones we can ask are, what areas are you interested in? Or what's your maximum price range? This provides an excellent opportunity to convey some of your value because you're able to educate them on the area and the average rent prices. However, if the lead's area of interest and price range don't match or are unrealistic, that's where we might need to try to overcome this by asking if they would be open for other areas that match their price range. And if they aren't willing to budge on their requirements or the location to be more realistic with those expectations, this is where we might have to say, this isn't a good fit for me. And the third thing that we're trying to determine is financial capacity. And we want to know if they have the financial capacity to move because you want to identify any issues that might arise during the application process and discuss potential solutions. So an excellent way to approach the financial aspect is to ask approval questions, such as, do you have any concerns about the application process? This often allows you to discuss the standard process the lead can expect and the financial requirements that go into the rental units. So this allows you to ask if they are prepared with 2 to 3 months to pay deposits and or broker fees. It's also worth noting that a lot of property owners and managers require a minimum credit score of around 580 to 600, plus a gross monthly income of 3x the rent. So we can educate them along those points, ask them if they have basically the pay stubs, the deposits, everything that they need to have to be able to move forward. So let's make sure we're looking at that financial capacity. And again, here's the thing. If a lead isn't financially prepared, this allows us to address this early on and talk about solutions and see if there are solutions. So if a lead can't meet the financial or credit requirements, we can ask if they can get a co-signer or a guarantor. And if a lead can meet the deposit and financial requirements, but maybe has a low credit score, you can also recommend that they pay advanced rent to maybe alleviate a property owner's concern over the ability that they can that they can reliably pay the rent. So being able to answer those three questions around urgency, expectations, and financial capacity, these allow us to determine the seriousness of a lead and if you want to work with them. Now, moving on, the second portion of the qualification focuses on determining the lead's rental needs. What are their basic rental requirements? Now, it's important because one of the easiest ways that we can lose a lead's confidence early is if we're sending them or trying to tour them a ton of listings that don't match their needs. They're going to lose confidence in us because they feel like we're not listening to them. So to avoid this, we want to learn who is involved in the search, the basic requirements, and if there are any deal breakers. So let's plan to ask more approval questions here, such as, is anyone other than the lead involved in the search, rental decision, or will be on the lease? Now, this is important because we want to know everyone involved in the process and encourage that all parties attend the showing. We don't want to find out at the tour that they exceed the maximum occupancy per bedroom, and we don't want to be wasting time repeatedly showing a property. So if more people other than the lead are going to be on the lease, we want to inform them that that other person will need to complete a rental application that also includes a guarantor and get approval from the property owner or manager too. Now, we also want to learn about their basic rental requirements and any deal breakers. It's essential to distinguish between what they need in a rental unit and what would be nice to have. This tends to include price, location, motivation, and approval questions so that we can determine those requirements. And they can include ones such as, do you have pets? How many bedrooms or bathrooms do you need? What lease term do you need? Do you need access to specific amenities or transportation? Do you need parking? Maybe what type? Does it need to be covered, garage, reserved spot, etc.? We want to know all of these requirements so that we're able to get them relevant listings. Now, once we feel we've thoroughly qualified the lead and we've determined we do want to work with them, it's time to close it and overcome any objections and schedule the time to tour properties. A critical mistake that I see a lot of people or a lot of real estate agents make is that they're willing to tour people just one property. And the reality is a lot of the data shows people don't rent the first property. So We end up using a lot of time. They're not going to rent that. And then we also don't have a backup option to show them because we only showed them one. So when we're showing them or scheduling a tour, we want to make sure that we're agreeing to look at maybe 3 to 5 properties so that we are managing our time and energy well, and we're also getting a few options in front of them. So let them know you have a few more that are going to fit their criteria, you're going to share them with them, and that they can pick which ones of those they'd like to see. To help you schedule a time slot, I always like to give 2 specific options to consider. So not just one, I like to say, does either or work for you? And then they can let me know what works. And one more pro tip here, if someone does inquire about a listing that's not available any longer, focus on the lead rather than the listing. We want to let them know it's not available, apologize that it was just rented, and then take the opportunity to see if they'd be interested in seeing other properties in that same area and price range. And this is why our prep is important, because then we can know confidently, based off of where they're looking in the price range, that we do have options that we can refer to and mention to them. So once they agree to a day and time, let's confirm that they don't have any remaining questions about the process, the commission, or your representation, and then set the expectations for what they can expect moving forward. And I like to use I, you, and we statements here. So for example, I will send you an email recapping our conversation with some additional listings that will meet your requirements. You can review them and let me know which ones you want to see, and we'll start together touring them on Wednesday at 6 p.m. And that's basically what we should be doing in our closing to make sure that we're doing it thoroughly and covering all our bases. Now, the last thing I want to talk about here is our value proposition. So as you create your value propositions, there are a few ways that Rental Beast basically can help you with this, and areas that you can highlight where you provide value to a renter. And a lot of times these value props are going to come down to 3 things: time, money, and energy. So the first one that you could mention is, I'm going to save you time and energy searching for listings, and I'm going to help you avoid FOMO because you're going to have access to our massive database. So you know that you're going to be getting an excellent picture of the market available from what I'm sending you. The second is that when you give them specific criteria, you can use layers or boundaries on map search to help them do hyper-focused searches. So if there are specific things or school districts or amenities that they want nearby, we're able to take that into account with our map search and make sure that we're getting them the most relevant listings so that they are saving time. We also have client alerts, which we can tell them will help them stay updated on the market so they don't have to waste their time staying up to date on the market. We're working for them, and they're going to know when things hit the market that meet their criteria. We're also protecting their money by using our database and our CMA tool, because we're able to pull relevant comps and data to ensure that listings that they're interested in are competitively priced and they're not getting a bad deal. If a property owner or manager allows it, we can also mention some areas to save time, money, and energy through our application process, which is called Apply Now. It doesn't impact a renter's credit score. It's a soft pull. The application can be used unlimited amount of times over 30 days. So we're not going to get a ton of application fees for running an application over and over again. And it is fully FCRA compliant. So those are just a few areas of where we can just kind of highlight our value props and ways that Rental Beast can also work into those value props when we're talking with our renters. We're going to wrap up now, and we're going to go over a few ways that we can keep the momentum going after this webinar for all y'all. So real quick, I just want to go over what we learned again. Again, we cover the best practices for posting ads to generate renter leads, which are going to save you time and energy. We went over the 6-step lead response process to help you convert a lead to a prospect or a client. And then we also went over the qualification questions that you need to be asking to determine a lead's capacity and level of seriousness that's going to reduce your time spent on leads who are a poor fit. So what are some next steps here that we can be doing coming out of this webinar? First, let's define who our ideal client is. Let's decide what that ideal target is, and let's define them. Let's create short and long-term goals to help us get targeted with our lead generation activities. And then let's work posting ads into those activities and try to generate renter leads at least 3 times per week, or for at least 1 hour, 3 times a week. And then finally, let's look at our lead response and qualification system, make sure we have one in place, and then see if there's any gaps or areas that need to be improved upon so that we're maximizing our lead generation efforts. Now, real quick, we do have a few resources. If you've got any questions or looking for more information, if you've got any questions, we do have in-platform chat, and you can also reach us at email at support@rentalbeast.com. If you're looking for more kind of courses and education on the rental process, we've got Rental Beast University. You can access that within the Rental Beast dashboard. When you log in, it's underneath the education tab. If you click on that, you will go to Rental Beast University. Like I said, we've got a ton of on-demand courses there. And then finally, if you're interested in learning more about Rental Beast Pro, you can scan the QR code over there. It'll take you to a landing page to schedule a demo. Or if you're interested, just a reminder, we do have that 30-day free trial as well for our CAR members. So that is what we've got for basically how to generate leads through posting ads and how to qualify our leads. And I think we can open it up at least for a few minutes for some questions if we got a few from y'all.
Alrighty, so let's see. We do have a couple right now. So this member wants to know, what pictures are you posting if you don't have a current lease listing active?
That's a great question. So if we don't have a current lease act, if we don't have listings ourselves, this is where we need to be hunting for those ads. And that's where, when we talked about either contacting people within our brokerage, property managers or rental communities, other listing agents, this is where we're actually finding other people's properties, and we're highlighting the value of posting their ads, where we're saying, hey, if you are willing to let me post your ad and use basically your listing, what I will do is I will post it in online channels, and I'm going to generate leads, and I will manage all of those leads. And basically, I'm going to handle the legwork on it. I'm going to qualify them. I'll tour them. I'm going to get them all the way up to the application process. And that's when I will involve you. And if you're willing to pay me a commission, if we sign a lease, I'm willing to basically do lead generation activities for you to generate activity on your listing. So what we're doing there is we're really trying to highlight the benefit and the value of them allowing us to basically do their legwork. They are able to put their time and focus in other avenues, and they're not wasting time answering questions on the details of the listing and qualifying a prospect. And especially on the qualifying a prospect time, a lot of times they're going to tour someone and then they find out that person's not even qualified to rent. So we're removing some of that guesswork. It's not to say it's 100% all the time, but we're trying to take and absorb that time in exchange for if they're going to offer a commission if we get a lease signed and generate a renter lead and get it all the way to the end.
Awesome. All right, here's another question. What if the listing agent does have good visibility for the property? What is the approach in that scenario?
I think, on that one, it can't hurt to ask. I would more just be trying at that point to just kind of cultivate the relationship and ask, maybe this is where we flip it and say, it sounds like this listing is doing really well. Do you have any other listings that maybe aren't doing so well? And maybe trying to get a better idea of what they're representing, the volume, so to say. So it might be an area where what you identified as a property that you wanted to list, that might not be the right one. So asking if there's other ones, trying to determine, maybe they have a different need. That's where we might want to do that. I still think you go ahead and ask, but I think you realize on this one, you even preface it, it sounds like you're getting a lot of visibility. If you're interested in me, getting you more exposure, I can do this. And then when they say, hey, it might not work so well for this listing, that's where maybe we double back and say, okay, well, what about other listings? I'd be willing to do this for other ones. Or if it's not a now thing, let me know when you have your next listing. If it doesn't go so well in the first week, let's keep an open line of communication. I'd be happy to do this for one down the road. So again, it's maybe like a, if not now, maybe later kind of situation. So that's how I would probably try to pivot that and just kind of redirect where I'm hunting.
Alrighty. Next question. When you are sent the lead and you accept, what is the next step?
So when we get a lead and we accept it, to clarify, when we say accept, are we assuming that we have done lead response, had a qualification call, and now we've accepted them? Or are you saying, I have posted an ad and the lead has said, hey, I'm interested in 123 Awesome Street? Real quick, can we get a clarification?
When that comes in, I will let you know. Oh, he said second part.
Second part. Okay. So You've just gotten the lead. It's come in. This is where we want to send that text message. We want to acknowledge that we've gotten their lead and that we are going to be calling them at a set time. So that is going to be step one in our lead response process. So that lead comes in. Hey, Ben, I got your lead on I got your inquiry on 123 Awesome Street. I'm going to give you a call in 15 minutes to set up a time to tour the property and learn more about your rental needs. Look forward to talking then. So we are responding basically with our lead response. Then we should be following up with that call. And then if we get them on the phone and they're willing to do, the qualification portion right then and have time, that's when we're trying to move them towards a tour and qualify if we want to work with them. And then at the end of that call, we're asking for times to tour. Then we need to be following up with that email so that they have our expectations, knowing what's coming down the pike, what they need to be bringing to the tour, which property are you meeting at first, those kind of things. And then from there, we're touring them and hopefully leading them to an application on one of the properties that we toured them.
Alrighty. Next question. How does the commissions work on the rental side?
That's a great question. I can't 100% answer that one, and here's the reason. Commissions, as we all know, there's a lot of kind of just, uncertainty around there. Each brokerage and each agent, I believe, has their own processes on what they do offer and what they don't offer. So what I can say on that is to confirm those details. Ask them directly. You want to just be clear and understand what they're offering and then what the requirements that go into making sure that you can earn a commission and make sure that you don't lose it. So I would ask your broker if there's any forms that they like to use to make sure that commission is honored, but I don't think that there is any one set answer. I wish there was a better answer for y'all, but with the uncertainty that's going on and the fact that different states operate differently, different brokerages operate differently, I'd say that each one is unique, and it's more just important to just be comfortable having this conversation. Like it is a normal conversation. It is a normal question to be asking for. So don't be, shy to ask that and think it's an odd question. I think that's my best recommendation is, don't be shy to ask and just be very direct with the question and don't beat around the bush.
Great advice. Another question that came in, while qualifying, do we ask about credit score and income?
So I like to phrase it as basically, are you familiar with the application process? And then from there, based off of their familiarity, we're able to say, this is what's typically required. Typically, 3 times the monthly rent, typically a credit score in this range is required. Do you foresee any problems or do you foresee having any problems meeting these criteria? That way, we're not 100% just straight asking, how much money do you make? What's your credit score? We're more educating them on the process. And then we're doing a softer way of asking that by saying, do you foresee any problems? Because again, we're not trying to, tell them they can't rent something or something. We're trying to identify if there are red flags so that way we can then say, okay, that's okay. We can work with that. We might need a cosigner. We might need a guarantor. If you're willing to do, maybe an extra month rent up front, we can maybe overcome some of these things. What we're trying to avoid by, softly asking these questions is getting at the end of the road and we're gone all the way through the application and then we're finding out that they weren't even close to sniffing the qualification, criteria. So I would say, I typically don't recommend to just straight ask those questions. I think using the way of saying, do you foresee any problems is a softer way that naturally leads into it that allows us to be an advocate and educate them on it as opposed to sounding like, just someone who might just be like, what do you make? What's your credit score? Never mind, you don't work for me. So I think there's just a more strategic way to get those answers, maybe.
Agreed. This question came in asking how much the Rental Beast Pro monthly subscription is. I don't know if you have that information available for us today.
Yeah, I think, and I could be wrong, but I believe we are operating on quarterly and annual tiers right now. I believe the quarterly is $189 and I believe annual is $599. Again, we do have a 30-day free trial, but what I would suggest is if you're interested, you can scan the QR code and get some more information there. Those are the prices I have. I know prices sometimes change and deals change. So I'm on our education side, so I always like to just say, this is what I believe, but don't quote me on it. Sales is the one who can give you the most reliable metrics on that. But I believe those, as of today, are where we're at for our quarterly and annual.
Alrighty. And then I think this question is probably better suited for our legal hotline. But Ben, do you know off the top of your head which form they would use to represent the renter exclusively?
Hmm. So it depends. Some places, their brokerage has a form that they like them to use. Some states and their MLSs have forms. What I would recommend you to do, similar to what Abby alluded to on the legal side, is either contact in your office, your broker, and ask them about this, or reach out to that legal hotline to find out just specifics on, are there any forms that California has that they've put their rubber stamp on. So there's kind of a two-prong, ask your broker or use the resource that Abby just mentioned to help kind of narrow down that answer.
Perfect. Yep. And I did put the number for the legal hotline as an answer to that question. So that is a free member benefit for you guys, calling the CAR legal hotline, and you can speak to one of our attorneys and get legal advice on any topic, which is a really fantastic. That's one of my favorite member benefits to plug, obviously, other than rental beast, which is another fantastic member benefit that we offer. So you guys are lucky to be CAR members. We got a lot of cool stuff going on right now. So Ben, I'm not seeing any other open questions right now. So I don't know if you have any, closing remarks for us or want to go ahead and wrap things up.
I think it would just be really encouraging consistency and discipline. We got to protect our mental, our mental, positive mental attitude and our mental space. So let's make sure that we stay positive. We're finding things that make us happy. As we're doing this, we're going to hit frustrations, we're going to hit walls. But the reality with an activity of posting ads for listings is it is an activity that over time continues to build our pipeline and it sees results and exponential results over time. And so we might not see them on the front side, but you will see some success early, but know that that success is going to be tiered and it will continue to grow. So what we're working on is building a pipeline of people 1 to 2 years down the road. Yes, we're closing deals today, but we are building a pipeline so that we are eating in later years. So this isn't just activity for today. This is activity that is going to put food in our mouths in a year, 2 years, when we're converting that renter to a buyer, when we're working on getting them from that apartment and moving into their first rental single family home. There are more opportunities here that build our pipeline that go beyond just this sliver of a deal of this is the activity I'm doing to get a deal in this week. It goes way beyond that. So let's not be so short-sighted that we forget sight of how this attaches to our long-term goals. So that's what I would say is stay positive, understand how short-term activity connects to your long-term goals, and use that as your fuel to stay motivated because every day that we're putting action in, we're putting action in down the road too.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Ben. Those were perfect closing remarks, if I do say so. And just this whole presentation was very informative, super helpful. So thank you to all our members for sticking around till the end. There were some great questions thrown in there. And Ben, thank you for your time this morning and educating all of us. And I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your Valentine's Day. Take care.
Thanks, Abby. Wonderful to be here. See y'all.
Bye.